everyone and welcome to the Art of Teaching Art. Today I'm going to show you how to create a monoprint on a collaged background. So this is an example of one I've completed before, and the big difference between this and monoprinting normally is the fact that you're working on multiple layers of paper, so you need to approach it slightly differently. Now for this one I did a picture of a bee with some flowers around it, and I've actually just drawn it directly onto the back of the piece of paper. So here I've got two layers, my collage layers and my paper layers, and that's really important to remember. The more layers you add, the more pressure that will be needed onto the ink, and that's going to make it a little bit tricky for you. If you want to learn more about monoprinting, please watch some of the previous monoprinting technique videos so you can get a handle on the technique. So I've got a collection of papers here, and I've also got a piece of cartridge paper. So these are quite thin papers, and that's important. If you have watched the other videos, I usually use a piece of paper from the printer along with a drawing piece of paper to create a print, and that works quite well. I think that's kind of the limit on layers really. If you try and add 3 layers, it just doesn't work as well. So I've got some thin papers, I've got some squared paper, brown paper, an envelope, and this is a photocopy of some newspaper. Newspaper also works really well. And what you want to do is collage these onto your piece of paper, but you want to try and keep them so that they're only one layer and that they don't overlap too much. If they are in an area where they're overlapping, you're just going to have to press a little bit harder. Now, I much prefer ripped collage for this kind of thing. So for this, I went for strips of collage across. And in this other example, I went for more triangle pieces. So all you need to do is simply select your paper and then just be quite confident about it, ripping it. It's going to rip to different shapes. You can kind of guide it in a way, but it's quite nice if it's quite organic. So I'm going to go for some, I think I'm going to go for some colour, so I might use a bit of this envelope as well. I always really love it when it has that torn edge as well. So I might have a piece going across and this piece kind of coming up here. I might just add a bit here. I think that would add to the composition. One direct bit of this other envelope, or do I mirror it with this at the bottom? I think I prefer the blue at the bottom there. So a really simple collage, just with ripped pieces of paper. It shouldn't take too long, but it's quite nice to explore. And then I'm just going to stick this down with Pritt Stick. You can use other types of glue as well. I just feel like this works the best. You want to make sure it's stuck down right to the edges as well. Okay, so collage is completed. So now what you want to think about is, do you want to draw directly on the back of the piece of paper, or do you want to trace an image there first? So I'm just going to draw directly on the back, so I've got my 2 layers. But if you did want to, you could trace an image on the back of the paper before you do your collage, and then it would be there ready to go over. Because you are at quite a risk of making mistakes. Obviously with monoprinting you can't rub it out or anything because the mark will be there, but sometimes that's quite a nice feeling with a print to know that it's a one-off. You're not going to necessarily be able to create that again. So what I need is something to draw from, and I'm actually going to work from a drawing I completed previously, which is this one. I'm going to aim for a section of this, and obviously this drawing is this way round, so I am actually going to be using my collage piece of paper this way round and hoping to kind of get it onto this section here. So I've got that to the side so I can have a good look at it, and I need to prepare my surface. So I've got a piece of acrylic plastic here, I've got my roller, masking tape, printing ink, and then my materials to draw with as well. So first we're going to roll out our ink to the same size as our paper, so just a small blob of ink, and then I'm going to use the roller to just roll that out. So sometimes you need to put quite a bit of pressure. So if you haven't added enough ink, you can always just add a little bit more as well. So you have a nice even spread across. So because I want this to be portrait, I'm just going to rotate it round like that. with my image in good view. And then what you need to do with this is you need to place the collage side of your paper face down on the ink. So students often make this mistake, they put it down like that with the collage side up, and obviously then it ends up on the blank side. So collage side down, and then tape it down. And then I'm going to begin my drawing. Now I'm going to be doing this directly in pen, and I'm just going to be working from the image I've got. I think I'm going to try and do kind of a continuous line type thing, just because I think that that would appear interesting on the print. So let's get started. So with continuous line, you're trying not to take your pen off the page. Now you could obviously try lots of other techniques with this. There's so many different things you can kind of explore as well. I'm trying not to press too hard. I might add the continuous line and I can go back and add some additional details kind of later on in the drawing. It's quite nice to do something that's like a little bit different. So remember, you're trying not to press onto the paper as well, or you might try and press onto it if you want that kind of look. It is completely up to you. There's not necessarily a right or wrong with this. It's about exploring the material as much as anything else. So I have missed out a section, so I'm going to just draw back in this section here that I missed. So I've done this fairly quickly. You could take more time, it's kind of up to you. And now I'm going to work back over the top, adding some detail in just some of the darker areas, and I'm going to be using cross hatching. So I'm just going to work back in to just finish off some of the sections, add a little bit more detail to some of the sections. I think scale and proportion wise it's not quite right, but I think it still works as a piece. So add in some cross hatching. I'm just going to be quite delicate with this as well. So it should add a nice bit of texture to the drawing. It's a really good way of exploring mark making and the images as well. So I think I'm fairly happy with that. I'm going to just check how it looks. Oh yes, it's looking really interesting. I'm just going to add some darker areas. I feel like it's kind of missing that a little bit. And there is my print. So this is a really nice technique because it means I've developed my ideas from my pencil drawing, which is from a photograph, into printmaking and with collage as well. And I can now kind of select an area and work with this image more and kind of develop it a little bit further. Thank you so much for watching and have a really great day.